Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about nutrition. This is a topic that a lot of people have this misconception about, or this misunderstanding, or they have this one point of view. And when they receive new information, they just don't know how to receive it and take it in and take it in for themselves, and how to make it work for them. So, luckily for me, I have a special guest that is wanting and willing and excited to speak about nutrition and share her opinion and her perspective on this topic. So, Aaliyah, why don't you go ahead and fully introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much, Mitzi, for this opportunity. I'm happy to be here and talk all things nutrition. I probably could talk all day about it, but we'll try and make it brief. But I am Alia Tomaszewski. I am a nutritionist. I'm also a chiropractor and a mom, most importantly, to a very spunky 5-year-old girl.
Aw.
um, we also have 3 animals in the house. We have 2 dogs and a cat,
Wow.
which I love. It's a crazy household. Um, and I live in Long Beach, California, which we just recently moved, originally from Minneapolis up in the Midwest.
Oh,
So,
wow, that's a big jump. That's a really big jump. How is that going for you guys?
we love it.
Yeah,
It was meant to be an adventure. Like, let's escape the cold. And
yeah.
then, my husband got a job opportunity here, and we're like, let's try it out. But then we just fell in love with the summers and the climate and the beach, and we ended up staying. So
Hey, I do not blame you. That weather is intoxicating,
it
especially
is.
when it's like almost all year round. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so it's so different because, living in the Midwest, because I live in Wisconsin, basically the same thing pretty much. And we get these crazy weathers, but winter when it's cold, it's ugly and it's cloudy majority of the time, and it's a hot mess. So I totally understand. I feel like it affects my mood sometimes because man, it's so bipolar.
Absolutely. Bipolar is like the right term. I was just in Wisconsin, sidetrack, and we were expecting it to be, because my husband's family is from Wisconsin, and I was expecting, well, it's summertime, it's the most, like, you expect it to be somewhat
Tolerable.
warm, yeah, tolerable, and it ended up raining pretty much the whole time we were there. So it was
Yeah,
a
it
bummer.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it is
never
a
you
real
never know.
bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't know. Like they tell you no rain and then it ends up raining, and I'm like, no. I turned into my own meteorologist because I have my own radar, so I figured out how to learn to read the clouds and everything. And yeah, so my parents and my family, they come to me. They're like, Mitzi, so what's the forecast?
There you go. I
Just
love
because
it.
watching the news is just a hot mess. But anyways, back to the
Back to
topic.
nutrition. Yes.
Yes. What really got you into nutrition?
Yeah. A lot of combination of what I saw with people that I was working with, along with my own personal experience. So I went to school originally to be a chiropractor, which is very much in line with holistic health and helping the body heal itself. But I was, long story short, as I was in practice seeing patients, there was kind of this missing link. A lot of them, excuse me,
You're fine.
a lot of them weren't, I wasn't seeing a lot the improvement I wanted to see in their health just from coming in and getting adjusted regularly and getting their chiropractic care. And so there was a lot of chronic pain clients, a lot of chronic pain, headaches, neck pain, and it just wasn't getting better. And I, for all of these clients, there was a big sort of this gap between, their nutrition and their lifestyle, and those were the things that were being missed
Yes.
when it comes to their care. And it was frustrating because it was more of this, I want you to take care of my pain and help me get better. But I knew that there were so many things that they could be doing proactively in their own life. And that was sort of what got me interested into nutrition field. And also I was struggling for so long with chronic digestive issues, and I had autoimmune health issues, and wasn't really finding answers to that. You go to your doctor, they want to prescribe another medication. It's a very quick visit. You don't feel like you're really being seen or heard. And so I really, I really got to dive into the holistic health field and kind of get into more health and lifestyle coaching and nutrition coaching, and just the power that nutrition has over our health and healing was, I find it fascinating. So it led
Yeah.
me in that direction. And now I strictly do nutrition.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yes.
interesting to just start in chiropractor, dive in and just to be curious for yourself and for your patients and, for others. And then now to be like, this is very seriously that you want, this is like now your passion. Um,
Yes, very much.
do you think this gap between nutrition is very common? Just because, we hear it all the time in the news that children have bad nutrition just because it's not very affordable. Do you think that affordability is a big impact on people's nutrition and their health?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And you hear that all the time about being healthy is expensive. But if you think about it, you look at all of these chronic health issues that are on the rise, especially in young people, which I find to be very the saddest part. These little kids that have type 2 diabetes, that have attention deficit disorders, that have just these chronic health conditions that shouldn't be, when we're
Yeah.
young, and it's that mental health issues so on the rise. And people, it's like we're okay with more and more prescriptions and going that route, which ultimately is, think about the cost that adds up over time, when it just comes back to, not that all of these things can be fixed with diet, but I just think like it's such a missing piece. Like we're not talking about how to properly fuel our bodies and be healthy. And I feel like this should be a part of everybody's treatment plan when you go to the doctor, no matter what issue that you have, because
Yeah.
it directly affects, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health.
I absolutely agree. I think food does have a big impact in our energy and our mental health and our physical health and our just our overall well-being. And I also agree at the fact that when we just have a physical or go to the doctor's appointment, nutrition isn't really talked about, diet isn't really talked about until you start reaching a certain weight on the scale, you know?
Exactly.
And once people reach a certain weight on the scale, then that's when it becomes a problem. And that's when the questions start happening. And even then, not to a certain degree where it's impactful, because if it was truly impactful, then we wouldn't have that show 600-pound life, 1,000-pound sisters, a thousand
Yeah,
pound man. You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
yes,
TLC wouldn't be making so much money on those shows.
yeah, right. Yeah, 100%. Yes. So it's just like you said, when you reach that point, it's so, so difficult to reverse things when they've gotten to be that far along. Not that you can, because it's never too late, but there's so many psychological things that have happened at that point, and all your habits and everything. And so to go backwards however many years is is a lot more challenging versus from when you're young, just creating these simple habits. And it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It's just even learning like what a healthy plate is, but not even just going away from food, but just being in tune with your own body, because we're a society of these quick fixes. And okay, I'm going to follow this diet because it worked for this person, or I'm going to do this, but you're not paying attention to how you're feeling, your actual hunger, your fullness, like how do foods make you feel? Like we've kind of lost that.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think we have lost that just engaging in a real relationship with food that's not toxic, because
Yes.
a lot of the time we have a misperception of food. And this is what I'm learning along the way, because I spoke with so many other guests, and one guest in particular, she was speaking to me about our relationship with food and how we see food and diet and all, and why there's so many yo-yo dieting and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it really does come down with our relationship with food. And like you said, if we're taught at a younger age how to see food and understand food, then we as adults will respect food in a different manner. Because I feel like when you are taught unhealthy habits with food, or you have a bad relationship with food in the beginning, then when you're as an adult, then you allow yourself to have excuses for
Yes.
those bad habits. You get those, oh, well, it's comfort food, or oh, when I'm stressed, this is what keeps me calm, or when I have an anxiety, food is the only thing that's really there for me, and I don't know what else to do besides go to food, or I rather not eat a salad because it's not as filling. But
Mhm.
people don't
Absolutely.
realize that healthy food can be very filling and can be very yummy at the same time. They think a
Yes.
burger is just enough, but you're spending three burgers and fries, and it adds up to the same amount if you just get some healthy food as well. Like, honestly feel
Absolutely.
like there's a lot of excuses because there's places that do sell food, like healthy food, in a
Yes.
good price, but they're
Absolutely.
so in habit and routine of just getting a certain thing that that's all that they see, and then they're like, well, everyone's gonna die anyway, so what's the point? And it's just like, there's a
Oh,
big point.
yeah, I could not agree more, Mitzi, and I hear it all the time from clients. Like uh, the excuses and the yes, we're all gonna die, or this is in my. I hear this a lot too. This is just in my genes, so it's gonna happen to
Yeah.
me no matter what. It's like those genetics are very. There's a lot that goes into that, and a lot of it is your environment that turns on these things, and so you're not just doomed because somebody in your family happened to have cancer or diabetes. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
So I think that I just, so many of my clients too, I see this time and time again where they say it's so expensive and all of this, but then I have them food log and I see they're going out to eat two out of their three meals a day. So
Yeah.
it doesn't add up, that logic. So it's just, but again, it comes down to comfort, and food is an addiction like anything else. And we become
Yes.
so it's our comfort. And so then, it becomes a whole nother way of being able to reestablish that comfort in other ways, which is really hard to do versus just establishing that healthy relationship with food from a very young age.
Yeah,
So
and I guess to lead into that, what would you consider to be establishing healthy habits at a young age?
yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's simple things like even cooking together in the kitchen. And it doesn't even have to be every day, but making cooking a fun thing, turning on your favorite song in the background and having your kids, if you have kids, be involved in the kitchen, making it fun, trying new things, sitting down at an actual table to eat your meals together like we used to do, but now everyone's just so rushed. And so, people are rushed, they're stressed, and that's the society
Yeah.
we live in. But simply taking the time, allowing, at least half an hour to sit down and focus just on eating and having conversation, making it an enjoyable thing. And then I just encourage young people to always try new things, make it colorful, make it exciting, and then they'll get exposed to that different colors, different textures. You don't even need to get into depth of like you need to eat your vegetables, but you just put it on the plate, you make it accessible for them, and then curiosity they'll try. um, so I think sometimes we overcomplicate it, right,
Yeah.
when it just kind of comes down to the basics.
Yeah. And I think with that being said, I hear a lot of people say that it's easier just to go out to eat because they don't know how to cook. And what would you say for individuals like that?
And yeah, that's another one that I hear all the time. There's so many resources out there. If you think about, and they've come a long way to make, there's all of these different meal delivery services. And yes, those can be kind of expensive. But if you start out, again, I would encourage people to do a budget. How much money are you actually spending out? And could you maybe instead invest that money and even a couple times a week getting a healthy meal delivery service if that's really the issue, is not being able to cook or not having the time, because at least that's a better option. They've come a long way with those, where a lot of them are, healthy, fresh, organic. So that's one option. But also you have things, simple devices like an Instapot, like a slow cooker, that make it so easy. So it's really, when I hear it's too hard, again, I feel like that's another excuse that's coming up for people. It doesn't have to be. So again, I like, when it comes to starting early, is getting kids involved in that, like going to the grocery store, picking some things out, meal prepping. So that's the biggest thing when you don't have the time or a lot of knowledge in the kitchen, is making, one or two big things a week that or, one time a week, Sundays, and then you have it for the week. So that's a simple thing to do. But yeah, now I'm really into just growing some of your own food too. Like, if you think it's expensive, you can grow things indoors,
Yeah.
fruits, vegetables, herbs.
Yeah.
It's not as complicated as it seems. It's just starting, it's just making the commitment to say, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, one of the other excuses that I've heard out of with a lot of the ones that you said was, I don't like to eat leftovers. I don't like to eat the same thing over again. And I feel that, yeah, but it's not, I mean, I don't have a problem eating leftovers. I don't mind eating the same thing over again. So for me, I can't really relate to those type of people. So it kind of baffles me. For you, what do you think when you get those type of people in front of you?
Yeah, that's another common one. And I think the thing with that is, you can make something, like an example. Common thing that we do is do a big pot of shredded crock pot chicken, right? We let it go for the whole week. And then I'll make also a big thing of quinoa, right? It's two simple things that anybody with no cooking skills could do. Then there's so many different varieties you can do with that. I mean, you can put it in a salad, you can put it in a wrap, you can just put different toppings on, or a sauce, and make it taste completely different.
Yeah.
So just with some staples, you can switch that up and make it completely different throughout the week.
Yeah, well, I like your idea. Thank you for that. I think that's great. I think my listeners are really going to enjoy that perspective because, sometimes we may hear all these excuses, but ourselves, we also have our own excuses.
Yeah, we all
And
do.
yeah, exactly. We all do. We all have bad habits. Nobody's perfect. Whoever
Absolutely.
swears they're perfect, that's shame on you.
Absolutely not. I mean, I am a nutritionist, and if I have food in front of me, like if I have a bowl of ice cream, you better believe I'm going to eat it. But it's like, I I do my best to just keep it out of my environment, and only have healthy things available. And then that's what I'm going to eat. So that's what I encourage people to do, is have the healthy things right in front of you in the fridge.
Exactly. I
And
think I
yes,
had to learn that too because I had to limit my snacking and everything, and I had to like pay attention to my body and really get in tune with like the cause and reaction. And I think that's what really helped me change my diet around, and I'm still changing my perspective and my diet. But I think it's important that people really try to get in tune with their body because your body speaks to you. Your body really lets you know, like, hey, shouldn't eat that Chinese food, has way too much sodium. Now you're gonna pay for it, or you shouldn't, if you're lactose, you shouldn't have had that dairy. Like certain
yeah.
people really need to pay attention because I seen on your website that you offer help with gut help and you have this VIP membership to help with really getting really focused. And I think those are great because people just need that reminder. People really need that guidance, and that to be, how you say, um responsible, I guess, because
Yeah.
if people don't have that other person sometimes to rely on and keep them on track, then they go astray and they do their own thing and then toxic cities where they go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's no fault of anybody. Like, we all have these excuses and things. It's not like
Yes.
it's just you or me. I mean, it's everyone. And the guidance and accountability are so important, because it's so overwhelming out there. you read one thing and then you read something completely that contradicts that, the next day, and you just don't know what to do. And the bottom line is, I mean, we all are individuals, we all are unique, we all have different needs. Um, and we just sometimes need some support and guidance. And that's okay. I think we all do. But I think, and if you look at the diets out and all of a sudden it's like, okay, everyone, we should go vegan, right? But
Yeah.
if you look at the problems, that's not that that's a wrong thing. You can be very healthy that way. But a lot of it, when I go to these vegan restaurants around here, I'm like, man, this is so filled with like sugar and oils, right? Because they're trying to make it taste good. And it's like, that's not necessarily healthy. Or the opposite, where it's like, I'm going to cut all my carbs. It's like, well, your carbs are your fuel source. So it's just, it's kind of common sense, but you're not going to have that if you don't have any background in nutrition. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's just the fact that people have an overall problem with balance. You know
Yes.
what I
Yes.
mean? We get
All
unbalanced.
about balance.
Anybody can get unbalanced in any area in their lives. It doesn't even have to be food. It could be anything really. Like
Yeah.
anything's subject to be unbalanced. And I think when we allow ourselves to get unbalanced, that's when our world gets a little chaotic. But I guess to start wrapping up the show, I will love for you to give some advice either to myself or, to my audience that may be listening and wanting to know a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. The best advice I have for people that are just, interested in improving their nutrition at all or taking that next step, do a food journal, so log your food. And this isn't a food journal where you're tracking calories or anything like that. It's simply a log of what you're eating, what your mood was before that meal, and then after that meal. So when I do my food log, it's your food, your mood, that also includes any symptoms. So this could be bloating, gas or brain fog or anything that comes up after that. And that really starts to show the relationship. So I tell people to do that with absolutely no judgment for a week. Just simply track what you ate, take a picture of it, your mood, your symptoms, and then take a look at that at the end of the week to start to notice those relationships between any foods that you were eating and anything that came up symptomatically, or your mood, to start to, it's all about starting to feel that, what is this food doing to me mentally, emotionally, physically? How does it make me feel? So rebuilding that relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I always encourage everybody to start with, so they can start to see those patterns. But really, it comes, like we were talking about at the beginning, just being a little mindful, being more mindful, sitting down again before that meal. Am I really hungry? Why am I eating this? Is it just a craving, or am I truly hungry, physically, for this food?
Mhm.
And thinking about that connection.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's great advice because you had
Yeah.
me thinking about like, yeah, now I could really put two and two together when you put the mood and the symptoms, not just writing what you ate, you're also putting everything else that affects what you ate as well, So I think that's very important. Thank you for that advice. And if any of my listeners are wanting to know more about her and how she could possibly help you, well, I have her lovely photo on my website, mitzythinking.com, and you'll have access to her website and everything her so that you can get yourself together, help your perspective and help your health and start living life and having a different relationship with food in the way that you want to have. So just keep that in mind, y'all. All righty, be safe and take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.